was worried about the way things might have been. Think we'll keep on turning. Probably keep on burning. Rolling.
Practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect is nothing but a bullshit lie that teachers tell us when they want us to sit down and copy out lines and be quiet. Practice never made anyone perfect. Merely repeating a mistake over and over again will get you worse. What does practice actually make? Practice makes lazy. But it depends what you do with that lazy as to whether you're going to be great or whether you're going to be average. Right, so let me draw you a diagram to explain. We've got our horizontal and our vertical axis. Now this is where we all start from. It's our position of not knowing anything. And that's where we all have to start. And where we want to get is mastery. But getting to mastery is incredibly hard. What people would have you believe is that there's a straight route to mastery, and the only thing that relies on is this bottom axis, which represents time. The saying is that 10,000 hours of practice will make you a master. But it doesn't. 10,000 hours will flatline your performance without what is in the vertical axis. And that is learning. When we combine learning and time, that is when we get mastery. Some people can master something much quicker than others, and some people will never truly master a skill, but the more we learn, the faster it will grow. Let's look at an example. So let's compare an Uber driver with a Formula One racing driver. Now, they spend a similar amount of time behind the wheel, so in theory they're getting the same amount of practice and they should be the same level of perfect. Well, unless you're getting very different Uber drivers from me, I think you'll agree that their driving is about as far from perfect as you can physically get. And if you put one of them in the Hungaroring in a Formula One car, they'd almost certainly die. Okay, maybe you're going to say to me, Simeon, that is comparing apples with oranges. You can't compare a racing driver with a taxi driver. Well, let's compare an Uber driver to a hackney carriage, you know, the traditional London black cab driver. And we're going to see the same difference. You've got your hackney carriage driver who knows London like the back of his hand or her hand and can take you anywhere. The Uber driver merely has the ability to put a postcode into a sat-nav and perhaps get you to the right place. Now, they both have a similar amount of time driving around, so why is one so much better than the other? Well, the hackney carriage driver has to do the knowledge. They have to do an intensive course with very strict tests to get to that position. They have to engage their brain. It's not just practice, it is constructed improvement. And that is what makes perfection. It's instructed, constructed improvement. I will always remember getting an Uber from Kennington Oval into London, and I said to the Uber driver, I said, Hyde Park Corner please. And the driver said to me, what's the postcode? For any of you that have even been to London more than once, I feel sure that you could tell me exactly where Hyde Park Corner is. But for those of you that haven't, maybe you live in New York, it would be like asking a cabbie to take you to Central Park. So I thought maybe this was this chap's first day on the job, and I'll forgive him for his lack of knowledge. So I said, how long have you been doing this? And he proudly told me 3 years. 3 years, and he still didn't know where one of the largest landmarks in London was. Why? It's because all he did was put postcodes in a sat-nav and never concentrated on where he was going. He was not engaging his brain. And when you're not engaging your brain, practice does not make perfect. So when I make the statement, practice makes lazy, you may think that's purely a derogatory statement, but not at all, because lazy can be one of two things. Lazy can be finding the best and most efficient way of doing something. There's an old adage that says, if you want to find better ways of doing something, employ lazy people. And there's a lot of truth to that. Because someone who's always trying to find a better, more efficient way of doing something is going to find a new system, a new, better way of doing it. Whereas someone who never questions what they were originally told, never tries to find a better way of doing it, never tries to improve their learning, that laziness will only ever get to a flat line. When I talk to the team of butlers who work for me about doing similar tasks to the ones that I'm doing, and they're telling me how hard they're finding it and how hard they have to work, it really brings it home to me that over the last 20 odd years working as a butler, what I've done is I've found better ways to do things. I've found simpler, quicker, more efficient ways to use my time. It's not a matter of me working harder than them or them working harder than me. That's entirely immaterial. It's a matter of working smarter, working leaner to achieve the most in the least possible time. Time is a currency and you can bank it for later. The more efficiently you use the time, the more time you're going to have later to do something else. There's a lot of people, especially internet gurus, who spend a huge amount of time speaking about hustle, about how you have to work 20 hours a day every day before you could possibly be a success. But realistically speaking, someone who works 2 hours a day doing the right thing will be way more successful than someone who spends 20 hours doing the wrong thing. Most of the hyper successful entrepreneurs that I look after as a butler are actually inherently lazy. That's not an insult. That actually refers to their level of intelligence. They've learnt that they can get things done with the least possible effort. Evolutionary speaking, animals have all evolved to get the biggest result with the least effort. Look at the lion. The lion has evolved to kill the largest animal it can. That's why it's so big. That's why it has the biggest claws, because it knows that killing one antelope is going to give it enough food for a couple of days. If it was just killing something the size of a rat, it would probably have to kill 20 or 30 a day, which is a damn sight more effort. So what you need to do is evolve those huge claws so you can kill the biggest prey and then have the rest of the day snoozing in the sun.